Hello, Mary, and welcome to our upper body exercise encyclopedia, if you will. Um, so, I just want to start this video by giving us a warm up that can be done before any upper body routine. I'm probably going to give you a little bit more than you would have to do every time, so maybe just pick and choose some of the warm up exercises. But the first thing we're going to do is our bread and butter, our arm circles. Remember, as we do these, we're thinking about posture. We're thinking about making nice big circles where we clench our abs. Taking some nice deep breaths. The warm up's all about getting the blood flowing and getting oxygen into our tissues. So definitely do some arm circles. I typically do these for about 20 seconds, but you can do it for however long feels comfortable. Essentially, just go for whatever you're feeling like. Another great warm-up exercise that I always love to do before our upper body sessions is doing our elbow circles on top of our arm circles. So remember here, I'm placing my palms on my shoulder, and I'm just making some nice big circles. Again, I like to do these for 20 seconds. You could do 10 forward, 10 back, 20 forward, 10 back. Just kind of any variation you want, but it's definitely important to get our shoulders nice and warmed up before we try to do any lifting in our upper body. Our next warm-up exercise that I really love to do is our separate arm swings. So as I do this, I'm coming up and down with opposite arms, really opening up those shoulders like this. And again, you can kind of just do these however many you want. I like to do it for about 20 seconds, but just it kind of depends on how stiff you're feeling before the exercises. Okay, and our next one that I think is really important is going to be our thoracic mobility. So here, I'm interlocking my fingers like this, and I have them on my head. And so all I'm doing is bringing my elbows in, and then bringing my elbows back out, bringing my elbows in, and bringing my elbows back out nice and slow. And as I do this, I want to try to not move my trunk at all. I'm really trying to generate this movement from my shoulder blades. Really want to feel my shoulder blades pulling apart in that upper back area. Of course, we're going to have some sounds, totally natural there. Nice. Okay, another really important one, I think, is like spinning at the spine. So for these, I like to do some sort of variation of spinning. The open face palm up variation is always a good option. Or we can always stick our arms out and spin like this. Really good. And then again, if you're feeling really stiff, we can add in some more to our warm-up. So we can do things like our rope pull down. Like we did that one time. Remember, for our rope pull down, we're doing arms and legs, and we're just pretending we're climbing a rope or even a ladder like you do in chorus. And then also any type of shrug. So just driving our shoulders up. It's going to be another great type of upper body warm-up like this. Good. Okay. So after you've completed some of those warm exercises, we're going to move into our exercise glossary. So I don't have any dumbbells because I'm in my room, as you can tell. But so what I'm going to do is try to talk you through every exercise and just pretending I have dumbbells. But if grip is important, I'll definitely mention it. Okay. So our first exercise is going to be our favorite, our curls. So remember, when we do our curls, we're going to stand about shoulder width apart, slight bend in our knees and our hips as usual. We're going to really focus on contracting our abs. And it's just simple, bend at the elbow. Nothing else is moving. We're really trying to use these biceps into our curls. So that's one type of curl. Our second type of curl, remember, our dumbbells would be facing straight up. So we have our hammer curls. Like this, same deal as before. The only thing that should be moving is our elbows. As we do this, we're really thinking about contracting our abdomen, pulling our shoulders down and back, and getting a nice straight posture. Feet can be together, shoulder width. It kind of just depends on what feels comfortable for you. I prefer to do it shoulder width. I think it's a more stable base. And then our third exercise is going to be our reverse curls. Remember that. So we're just pulling up our elbows again, same way, except now the dumbbells are facing, or our palms are facing the ground with the dumbbells in our hands. Good. Give that a nice job, Mary. Just like that. So those are our reverse curls. You can pick those. And remember, we can do any variation of curls we want. You can always come up reverse, come down regular, or vice versa. Just kind of do something, whatever you like to do. I mean, you know the drill. Okay, and then the next exercise that we can pick from is our spin. So if you remember, we take our dumbbells and we just rotate them down and back up, down, back up, down, and back up. And I think all of our curl exercises, you could probably do them with 8 pounds, and then our flips also 8 pounds, if I had to guess for now. But You know, the more that we do these, the more you might want to think about progressing, whatever really makes you feel comfortable, because you're going to design these exercises yourself. Okay, so our next exercise is our spins. So for our spins, oh, we just did the spins, sorry. So the spins were this, and then so we can, I don't have a bench actually here, so I think I'm just going to grab a chair and we are going to pretend as usual. Okay, so I want you to imagine that you're sitting on the bench. So instead of this being a chair, be a bench. And so from this position, remember we have our tricep extensions. So as we do this, we want to sit up nice and tall, and we want to plant our feet, get a nice rooted position on the bench. And we're just putting our hands behind our head, and we are again extending the elbows just like this. And so going all the way up, locking out the elbows, and coming back down just to about behind my head. This exercise can be done with both arms. It can be done with one arm. So one arm would look just like that, but if you're doing it with both hands, you could probably do it with a 10. If you're doing it with one hand, I would probably stick with 5s, okay? That's just my personal recommendation. Of course, go as hard as you want or as soft as you want. This is all going to depend on you. Okay, so our next exercise, we've done a couple times. It's actually impossible for me to show you what that would be from this chair, but I want you to imagine. Now I'm laying on a bench, and so this is the exercise where we pull the weight back behind our heads and come up with it. And so here, what we want to focus on is interlocking our fingers around the dumbbell and really lowering it nice, slow, and controlled, and bringing them back up. Okay, and those are called pull downs. But that'll all be in the glossary, you'll know. Okay, so moving a little more on. Our next exercise option is going to be our flies. And what I mean by flies is we're going to pull our hands together, stand up nice and tall, and really just focus on pulling in our hands using our shoulders and our chest. Here we're working in the transverse plane. And we can also do this exercise from the bench. So right now, imagine I'm laying flat on the bench, and all I'm doing is the same thing. So I'm just bringing the weights over me. You can have them touch at the top and then slowly lower back down. That exercise I would probably recommend starting with 5 and then just seeing how it feels. Further, I should say at the bench. So from this bench, we have our flies, but you could also choose to do a bench. So when we bench, remember we're pushing the weight up above us, and then touching at the top is going to be a little bit harder for us. So we're feeling really excited that day. Definitely want to push up and touch the top. That'll help get that chest activation a little bit more. Just like this. Okay, we're going to move on. All right, so our next exercise of choice is going to be our reverse flies. So if we remember this, we're going to stand about shoulder width apart, slight bend in the knees and the hips, and I'm just going to come flex a little bit forward at my hips. You can see I have a little bit of angle here. And so we have 2 options. First exercise is going to be a reverse fly. So if you remember, we just pull our arms apart. And remember, this is really hard on our shoulders, so we want to start with some low weight, probably our 5s. We're taking some nice deep breaths. We're thinking about our abdominals. We're clenching them. And we're really protecting that spine. So that's option 1 from this position. Option 2 is our row. So same thing we've been doing all semester, slight bend, and now I'm just driving my elbows directly up. Trying to keep them as close to my body as possible. Feet are about shoulder width apart, slight bend still, nothing changes. We're clenching our abdominals. Never forget about our abdominals. Sorry, I love that joke. So we can also do a row from a bench. And so there, what we would do is stand wider than shoulder width. So I'm kicking my legs out pretty wide now. And you can probably do this with a little bit heavier weight as well. Putting our palm down on the bench and sticking our butt up. And so as we do this, we want to think about having a nice straight back. We're not trying to round it or trying to really, create that divot. Just keep it nice and level. We can accomplish that by clenching our abdominals, our favorite. So starting from the ground, pulling directly up, driving that elbow up, not moving my torso at all. I'm only moving my arm. And I'm just pulling in a straight line, just like this. Perfect. Okay. Our next exercise is our shrug. We've done a shrug a couple times. So what you want to do is grab your weight. You can probably do this with 8 or 10, depending on how you feel this day. What you're going to want to do is drive your shoulders up. You want to imagine someone's pulling with a wire just straight up and down. I'm just driving my shoulders up like this. And as I do this, I'm clenching my abdominals, and I'm looking straight ahead, and I'm just trying to imagine initiating all of the movement from my shoulder blades, like this. Perfect. Okay. Our next exercise are called face pulls. And if you remember, our face pulls are essentially starting with our dumbbells out in front of us. We're standing nice and tall, and we're just pulling them straight up in a straight line right in front of us as our elbows go out to the side. So as I do this, I clench my abdominals, and I think about using my shoulders to really throw up my arms into the air like this. And I'm trying to keep my shoulders down and back. That's going to be really helpful for all of our shoulder exercises. Speaking of shoulder exercises, our next exercise is going to be our lateral raises. And a lateral raise is just throwing our arms up to the sides like this. And as I do this, our same cues, clenching the abdominals, pulling our shoulder blades down and back, puffing that chest up, looking straight ahead. Nice, slow and controlled movement. I'm just raising my arms up and bringing them back down. Nice and easy. Feet are pretty close together here. Kind of up to you. You can have feet shoulder width, but definitely want to keep a slight bend. We don't want to lock out any of those lower body joints. Good. I'm just going to grab a quick drink of water. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is not our favorite, but maybe important. So again, we're going to pretend this is the bench. So we're going to do our dip progressions. So if you can remember, we put our hands to our sides, like so, and then we plant our feet about a couple feet in front of us, and we just slide our backside off the bench, and we hold like this. And I usually shoot for 20 seconds, but if you don't have a clock around you, I would say just go until it feels relatively difficult for maybe 5 full seconds, and then after that 5th hard second, plop back down onto the bench. And hopefully eventually this gets easier. Of course, I'm not expecting us to be able to do dips anytime soon, but this is just a good way to activate our shoulders in a really functional way. I think that's an important exercise. So we're going to keep moving along here. Let me just get this chair out of the way. Okay, so I'm going to move to my knees now. So we've done this exercise, I believe, only once. So I'm going to go nice and slow through this so you remember. So we're in our tabletop position here. From the ground, we're on all fours. And so what I want to do here is look straight ahead and pick up my arm like this. So the exercise is just driving my arm up and down like this. And so you can keep your arm in front of you like I'm doing right now, or you can bend the elbow and bring it all the way in. I personally think it's easier to just start in front of you, come up, come down, 1 rep like that. And as you do this, you definitely want to think about your low back. So here, definitely clench our abdominals and our glutes, and we're not rounding out our spine, sticking our butt up too high, and we're not rounding out our spine up top either, sticking our butt too low, bringing up our shoulders. We want to make sure we're nice and even, and like I said, going up and down. Nice and simple. That'll be good for your shoulders and stuff like that. So our next exercise, we're going to grab our dumbbells again. I believe we've done this together. So what all we're doing is I would be standing, but I have the dumbbells in my hand, and I'm just doing a wrist flexion exercise. So imagine I'm standing, my elbows are staying still in the 90 degrees position, and I'm letting my wrist go, and I'm flexing them up like this. That make sense? I don't know why I asked the question. I know you can't respond to me. Sorry. But yeah, so we're flexing, keeping everything else still. Definitely still want to think about our abdominals and all of our standing exercises. Good. Our next exercise is our push-ups. So our push-ups we've been doing from our knees. So if you remember, go back to our tabletop position, all fours, and we just want to bend our elbows and use our shoulders and our triceps and our chest and push us up against the ground. And remember, as we do this, the further away our hands and our knees are, the more intense this exercise is going to be. And I think that you would feel that. Like that would make sense to you if you were doing this without me. Okay. Our next exercise of choice is going to be our front raises. So here, hands upwards, I would have dumbbells in my hands. I would say start with our 5s. So we could probably move up to 8s eventually. But yeah, so same thing, feet shoulder width, standing nice and tall, shoulders down and back, clenching my abs, and pulling up the weight with straight arms. Really focusing on using our chest to drive our arm upwards. Nice and straight, come back to about sideways. Just like those. Perfect. Sorry, last drink of water, I promise. Just checking my list, making sure I got everything. Okay, I did forget one type of bench. So another option for our benching is keeping our hands together the whole time. So instead of starting out here like this, both my hands are together with my dumbbells, and I'm pushing up. So same thing, completely the same, except I'm just coming down together and up together. That makes sense. Easy. Okay, just a few more, I promise. Okay, so this one, our tricep extension. So here, we can either have our hands on our knees like I'm doing, or if this were the bench, you can put your hand on your bench like this and just bring up your elbow. So your elbow is in line, parallel to your torso, and just think about using the back of that upper arm to straighten out your elbow with your dumbbell in your hand. That's probably more of a 5-pound exercise, definitely. It's kind of hard. Oh, I know we've done that together. And finally, our last upper body exercise, I'm a little bit tired, is going to be our shadow boxing, and that's just a fancy word for punching the air. So remember, for our form as we punch, we definitely want to stay athletic on our feet. We don't want to hurt our ankles by planting them too hard. So we're just bouncing around nicely on our feet. We're bringing our fists up close, and I'm just releasing it like this. I'm initiating all the movement from under here to pull back, and then using our shoulders to drive it. And we just don't want to go too crazy with the movement. You want to stay a little bit centered, but definitely keep a nice bounce in your feet. And we just want to punch like this. And you just want to go for as long as you can. This is a nice ender, like a nice cardio burnout for your upper body. And that is all of the upper body exercises I have. So I hope this exercise glossary is helpful to you.